Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress with number 10 in the Tactics series. This is about a game from myself, a painful loss which I suffered in the Irish Chess League. The game was played on the 3rd of October 2017. Let me show you what happened. This is the position after 24, rook c8 takes a rook on c6 from black, which was myself. The white player was named Tony. And let's look at the position. Black, myself, has a rook and 2 pawns for 2 knights. Well, that is about equal. Maybe black has a slight material advantage. A rook is worth about 5 pawns. A knight is worth about 3 pawns. So 5 plus 2 pawns is 7, and 2 knights would be 6. So a slight material advantage for black, and I was quite optimistic here. I thought I have a nice passed pawn on d5 and I should be able to push that pawn. I also thought white's king was a little bit vulnerable, doesn't have a lot of protection, and I felt quite comfortable here. Here the best move for white is to play knight d to e5, and then the engine says that the position is about equal. So my assessment that I was slightly better was wrong. It's about equal. But white made a mistake, and this is where the tactics begin. He thought he had a very nice shot with queen takes d5. Kudos for him to find that move, because it's a very spectacular move. It doesn't work, but in practice it did work. It did win white the game, so good move. What is the idea between queen takes d5? Just putting the queen en prise there on d5. Well, if you take the queen, e takes d5, then white wins. Because there's rook takes e8 check, king f7 only move, rook f8 check, king e7, and then black wins back the queen, rook takes f4. Black will gain a knight for it, but you have to be careful, you cannot take the knight straight away, because of knight e5 check, with a fork on king and rook, king d6, knight takes c6, b takes c6, and white has a winning position. So let's go back after king e7, and then white wins the queen back. Black can still win the knight, but has first to give a check, rook c2 check, to get the rook out of the knight fork. And after king e3, king takes d7. Black has at least won a knight for his trouble, but it's easily to see that white is winning here. He has an extra piece. So back to the position after queen takes d5, which was played by my opponent. I had seen that I could not take on d5, I could not take the queen, I had seen that variation. What I should have played, the best move in the position, which I did not find, is simply queen c7. Retreating the queen. The point is that white's queen is attacked, so he has to do something about that. Queen d4 makes most sense, because he has to keep protecting the knight on d7, which is now attacked by the queen. But then black has the very nice move, rook d6, attacking the queen and attacking the knight a second time. White has to save his queen, so queen takes a7 is the best move, but then black wins a piece, wins the knight on d7, queen takes d7, and he has a decisive material advantage. So queen c7 was a refutation of queen takes d5, and I really should have found that move. I had lots of time on the clock. Instead I played rook c2 check, not a bad move. I was trying to attack the king, and I also was trying to get my queen away from f4 so that I could take white's queen without losing my own queen with that rook takes e8, king f7 and rook f8 combination. That was my plan. Here white made a mistake. He should have played king f1. After that move I had planned to take on b2, then white can take on e6, rook takes e6, queen takes e6 check, and queen f7, and the position is about equal. There's still a material imbalance. White has now 2 knights for rook and pawn, which is equal material, and this game goes on. There's still a lot to play for. But as I said, White made a mistake. He played the king to g1, and now I made a big blunder. I was still planning to take my queen away from the f-file so that I could take the queen on d5, and I decided, without much thinking, to sacrifice my rook. I played rook takes g2, and White took that rook, and then I played queen g4 check, and I thought, this is great. White played indeed king f2, and I thought, now I can take on d5 and will not lose my queen. But to my horror, after I saw the move king f2, I saw the refutation, I saw what I had missed, and I had to resign here. I had to resign on the spot. I just gave away a rook, and I'm not getting enough material back. What I had missed, that if now I take the queen on d5, there is still rook takes e8 check, king f7, and I don't lose my queen by rook f8 check, but I lose my queen in a much simpler way. Knight d e5 check is a fork on king and queen. King takes e8, knight takes g4, and I am too much material down. So I resigned after king f2, then I saw that move, and of course I was cursing myself for not having taken more time before taking on g2, which was a very bad mistake. After the game, one of my teammates said, why did you not play queen g4 here? Even though he was playing his own game, he had seen that move, which I of course should have seen as well. Queen g4 is a strong move, it wins for black. And why does it win? Well, for starters, there is a mate threat on g2. And White has to deal with that. In the postmortem, my opponent and I looked at this move, and he found a very nice move, knight g5. But it doesn't work. It's a good attempt, because black can still not take the queen, because after e takes d5 there is rook takes e8, checkmate. The knight on g5 covers the f7 square. But black shouldn't panic and should take time to find the winning move. There's a few winning moves. The strongest one is rook c1. Very nice move. Pinning the rook, distracting the rook so that black can take the queen. If you take on c1, e takes d5, and black is decisive material up. The best move for white is to protect the rook and take the queen out of the attack of the e-pawn at the same time. So a move like queen e5 needs to be played here. But then rook takes e1, queen takes e1, and queen takes g5. Black is an exchange up and a pawn and has a winning position. This is what I should have found. I talk a lot in my series Viewers Games about taking your time in complex positions, and that's really what I should have done here. The position was very loaded after queen takes d5, lots of tactics. I should have taken my time to find the right moves. I should have double checked and triple checked, especially when I played rook takes g2, which I played too quickly, thinking that it was good for me. The refutation was very simple, and it resulted in a few sleepless nights after this game. Next time I'll make sure I follow my own advice at taking time in complicated tactical positions. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess 2 Progress channel. Please leave a comment. And if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. You also may want to check out my Chess 2 Impress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess 2 Progress. Thank you for watching.